Yeah, here you are. So good afternoon, everybody. I hope you are not sleepy after having lunch. Maybe delicious. Talk a lot in the restaurant, just like myself with the others, some of you. So in this afternoon, well, we are supposed to start at 2 o'clock, but now it's 2:30. So we are late 30 minutes. We just have time 1.5 hours. Okay. So you can come if you like. We will have 5 speakers. The first, Connie Rahakundini Bakrie, please come. She's from Indonesia, senior defense and military analyst, doctor, defense and security studies, lecturer, researcher, University Jendral Achmad, Yani, Jakarta. She is among the rare person as a military analyst, or maybe just unique one person in Indonesia. It's Connie Rahakundini Bakrie. Marco Riccieri. Marco, are you there? Come. Yes. Marco Riccieri from Italy, professor from political sciences, from the institution called IURISPES, Institute of Political, Economic and Social Studies, based in Rome, Italy. And he is also coordinator of group of research dedicated to BRICS. So he will, of course, speak about this. And then, please, Marco, come. What happened with you? It's, yeah, we had lunch together and we enjoyed very much. So Marco, come. And then after that, we have Marina Shilina from Moscow, from Russia. She's Professor, Doctor, Strategic Communication, Digital Media, Critical Data Studies from Plekhanov, Russian University of Economics, Moscow, Russia. Okay. And then Noel Magloire-Doba. Come, Noel. Noel from Congo. You know that in Africa you have 2 Congos, Congo Brazzaville and Congo Kinshasa, and he is from Congo Brazzaville. And Congo Kinshasa was Belgian colony, and Congo Brazzaville is French colony. No? Yes. Yeah, exactly. And you know Patrice Lumumba, very famous one, was leader of Congo Kinshasa. That the Indonesian people do not know who is Patrice Lumumba, even though there's a street in Jakarta called Patrice Lumumba Street in Kebayoran Baru. But nobody knows who is Patrice Lumumba, because it was Sukarno who set up the name of this street, Patrice Lumumba Street, in the 60s. Now people in Indonesia do not know what is. Some of them thought that it is from Moluccan Islands, Patrice Lumumba, but it was from Congo. Okay, and then we have Didi Sasono Setiadi from Indonesia. He is lawyer and chairman of Association of Indonesia Oil and Gas and Renewable Energy Law practitioners, and he is also chief of legal counsel of Special Task Force for Oil and Gas Business Activities of the Republic of Indonesia. So it's very important person who is responsible directly to the President of the Republic of Indonesia. I think it's not under the ministry, any ministry. So it's question of energy. I think it is very important for our session today. As I said in the morning, that the Russia-Ukraine war has provoked a crisis in food, energy, and finance, and that Asia supposed to play important role, because Asia, they are energy, they have food, they have finance, and they have technology. they have manpower, human resources, so they have the possibility to be self-reliance in Asia. So it is, but what do the Asians do with this crisis and the proposal of the United Nations to make a task force to work on these three issues? So the question is related to our theme today. What perspective for the emerging forces, the outcome of G20 summits in Indonesia? What are the perspectives for the emerging forces? I used the word emerging forces, which was coined by Sukarno in 1960s with NEFOS, new emerging forces, against old DEFOS or old established forces. So I wrote here emerging forces, including BRICS, NAM, and developing world. So I would like to invite Ibu Connie to start first. What is your perspective of this global crisis, of this after G20 summit, etc.? What is your perspective? Yeah, yes. 10 minutes if it is possible. Okay. Would you like to use PowerPoint?
Thank you. Yes, I think I have a PowerPoint.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Pak Darwis. I think I'm not going to discuss only about things related to global south or north or BRICS or NAM or G20.
Okay.
But about the issue that we discussed this morning regarding the new type of colonialism which has happened up to this minute and how to solve the problem. I might be quite different with this morning idea, but I think something has to be done soon. And I think you maybe have my presentations already.
This one.
Yes. So I think we are going, what I'm going to discuss is about repositioning the non-aligned movement and reconstructing the global south map. I think that's the issue that we have to raise. And I'd like to announce this a small announcement. Across that building, you will see that building with the high pillars. Yeah. So in that building, next to that building, there's a door with the huge announcement of the Sukarno and exhibitions. Yeah. The head of the exhibition is here. So everyone who wants to see and visit this Bandung Spirit is just across the street near the Panthéon.
The mayor, La Mairie, the mayor of 5th district of Paris.
Yes. So this is my first slide. And
no, wait, why it doesn't appear? What happened?
Then okay, then I can talk.
Yeah. You can but you can, you can continue.
Okay, so if we revisit the NAM movement during 1950, 1992, actually we have to remember that non-alignment movement consists about 55% of the world's populations, and it gains the biggest attraction on the 1950s when, especially when Fidel Castro declared the 1979 and ensured the 14 principles of non-alignment movement. But it's too bad. After 1992, the Cold War is gone, and then non-alignment movement leads more to the multilateral connections and talking about unity. We almost forgot this principle of non-alignment movement is what we discussed this morning. First, sovereignty, regional integrity, security of non-bloc countries, against imperialism, against colonialism, against neo-colonialism, eliminate racism, against all foreign aggressions, against occupations, dominations, meddling, and against hegemony of big powers and bloc politics, and removing, this is the most important things, that's why I remind you regarding the Sukarno exhibition. What Sukarno tell in Bandung, and I think it's very important, is removing defense pact from the entire world. This morning we discussed about what happened from NATO with Russia. I don't think the Ukraine war will be happen if NATO is not going forward. This is my point of view since the beginning of the things. Okay. Now, 62 years after the non-alignment movement, what dream are dreams? That is questions during our meeting, and how to reconstruct the reposition non-bloc movement to realize our common dream. Let me tell you, my background is international relations, and I believe war only happened by three things. First is religions issue. Second is trade resource. A third one is trade role. So there's only three things: religion, trade or resource, or the way of trade and resource, which is the art of communications, for example. So I think after the war, after the military special operation on February in Russia, I think during my I think I attend 3 times already Valdai meetings in Moscow. I saw, in my opinion, I think Russia now is going to south instead of north. So if we are talking about south and north, I think Russia now is more to global. Ended after the Cold War. So there was a big economic gap between 1 billion people towards 7.6 billion people. This is called neo-colonialism, in my point of view. Therefore, the gap between nations is relevant for non-alignment movement to struggle for the equality. Number 2, non-alignment movement has relevance for maintaining world peace by playing more active role to achieve the foundation of principle and objectives, especially on building the real balanced, peaceful, and prosperous world. Number 3, non-alignment movement is an international movement which is very relevant because of principle, especially when the world is divided by those superpower principle regarding those inside the coalition of the willing, which is United States and the France, toward coalition of the non-willing, which is outside the United States and the France. So now what is the relevance on maintaining balance of power between the global south and the global north? About 2/3 members are joining, but what I mean is non-alignment movement has significant role to strengthen or change or improve the role of United Nations in order to keep UN as a peaceful platform. I don't think UN is working as a peaceful platform up to this minute. Non-alignment movement become integral part of relevant foreign policy, which is related to policy to avoid other forms of control of dictations by global north countries towards the global south countries related to economic, to the global natural resource, technology, finance, trade, and military. So non-alignment movement able to act as catalyst to drive the global south cooperation, to be able to accelerate the connectivity, economic development, technology and industry, be able to move toward an equal, truly fair and balanced world, not just ended as a tagline. So, but we have weakness on non-alignment movement, and this is what we have to be honest about it. First, we have the lack of economic pragmatism. Many non-alignment movement countries have left the roots of the idea of socialism and state control. Therefore, they leave the invisible hand of the globalizations in interfering too far, controlling of the visible hands of the state or the nations. I'm not going to discuss about nation or state. It's going to be another class. So keep complaining about the IMF. Keep complaining about the WTO, but we do not have form or muscle to do anything that non-alignment countries have to be adjust and be able to reposition and redefining the muscle to change that reality. The third one, non-alignment movement trends tend to give up to the G20. We tend to give up to the G7. We tend to give up to any associations and organizations where actually non-alignment muscle more effective in handling problems of non-alignment countries within economic, technology, natural resources, finance, industry, and trade. So no non-alignment movement should rely on the currency of non-alignment members. So then we can leave the reliance too much to the US. Thank you so much, Ibu. Thank you. You really help. We really rely on US currency. Non-alignment movement should rely on the position of issues such as human rights, exploitation, and gender issue. As a result, we have no position of that. Because of that, we follow all the West principles. They are deciding about what to do and what not to do. This morning, Professor Hans describing about the success of G20. G20 is success, not success in one thing. When they said the world will control the 30% of sea, the world will control 30% of the surface of the world. My question is, who's going to control that? Who's going to say one area is endangering or one area of environment is destroyed by whom? If we cannot control by ourselves, it's going to really impact of our sovereignty to control our own forest, for example, or our maritime sea. France, for example, we are in France now. Yeah. I'm so surprised. The white paper of France is building a very big capability of Navy and Air Force. And when I asked the defense attaché, I said, who are going to protect with that big power in New Zealand, in Australia, you know, with this France capability. I'm so proud about France. But my question is, who are you going to protect? Only 1,700 people in Asia Pacific. Only 1,700 of friends in Asia Pacific, you deploy that power. But whenever China want to do something to protect their interests, why then we become so cranky about it? That is the question. And now, what is we have what we have to do? I think what we have to do now is we are joining. I think next slide. What we call the Toward a Fair, Peaceful, Multipolar World. I proposed last week in St. Petersburg meeting that moving non-alignment headquarters from New York, because now non-alignment headquarters in New York, I propose we move it to St. Petersburg. I know, okay, yeah. I know, but it doesn't work. Yeah. So that's why I proposed to move it to one in St. Petersburg, another one in Beijing, because in Jakarta we have technical organizations. But for the high-hanging fruits like the political, military, defense, you know, the things that controlled by the five guys in UN, the security, yes, the emperors. Then we have to move the office in St. Petersburg, one, another one in Beijing. If you ask me why St. Petersburg, because they can afford it. I wish I can move it to Jakarta, but who's can afford this kind of meetings, you know? Second time, of course, is Beijing. The second is shifting back unipolar world into a multipolar world, which is very relevant today to reconstruct and redevelop non-alignment movement with real vision of regional than international balance. The third, NAM should develop a progressive vision agenda on the fundamental value of human rights, equality in trade and resource, treatment of every nation with high respect of multiculturalism. And this is very important. NAM should be able to prevent any act of humanity by playing God concept. This is very dangerous. Therefore, non-alignment movement must encourage all form of religionism to shift towards spiritualism movement. It's very different. Why? Because I mentioned to you before, at least there's three kinds of war. I just want to erase this number one. The fourth one is loudly and continuously reposition and revitalize NAM to be able to meet the needs of fair balanced world with the principle of non-alignment movement, do not leave anyone, any countries behind. So we have to work together and balancing between this 1 billion people toward the 7.6 billion. So the religiositas versus spiritualitas issue is very important. We have to understand what is the difference. Religion is the purpose of life, do anything written in the Holy Book, and fear of losing the right of heaven. But spirituality is religion's way to achieve goals toward universal happiness and to achieve individual and inter-individual inner perfections, including nature and itself. So what we have to change on the NAM is the status of Russia and China. Because the status on non-alignment movement today, the observer is China, Ukraine, and Brazil. So Ukraine is higher than Russia in the position of non-alignment movement because guest country, Russia is a guest country only. And as a guest country, you don't have, of course, you can invite it to an ad hoc basis to every minister level summit meeting, but the invitation should be the host country after considerations of the coordination of the bureau. And then the guests only attend to opening and closing and doesn't have any right to participate on consultations. That's why I propose that Russia changing the status in non-alignment movement. And of course, after that, we have to talk about things that, what are 12 things that UNCTAD helps. Okay, we have to erase 5 of the UNCTAD principle, but concentrate more to the 7. First, regulation that stifle competition. Second, speed up the flow of goods across the borders. Third, increase the access to the digital technology. Fourth, integration in the global trading system. And then diversity, that economic to make them less dependent on commodities. And the last one, limit the exposure to financial volatility in depth. Yeah, volatility in depth. So the UNCTAD reformation on 3 responsibility. First, helps developing countries participate with equitable principle in the global economic. support developing countries to have to trade, investment, finance, and technology. And the third one for inclusive and sustainable development. The non-alignment concrete step on three main issues set up to forum where the representative of all countries can freely engage in dialogue. Host the tri-annual quadruple helix conference, which is involving academicians, businessmen, government, and military elements on the wide range of topics driven by non-alignment intergovernmental machinery, and provide technical assistance and several turnkey capacity building program, and host the high-profile events such as none like we have today, the non-alignment movement on technology, on industry forum, and new and renewable energy, and so on and so forth, especially on the finance and the currency. Last, propose and publish the convention of all the above to the United Nations. And last but not least, we have to erase the NATO, the AUKUS, the Quad, the Five Power Defense Arrangement, and other defense military pact. Thank you. Good afternoon.